All right. I'm hoping that this is being seen by y'all. I'm not gonna go and mess with it because this is really just what I need you to see right now, and I'll go and flip it on later. But don't ever kowtow. Don't ever bow down. Right? And you're wondering what this picture has to do with that, but this is a symbol of me not folding this week, me not bowing down to things that have happened this week. Had a lot of stuff going on. Um, and this is just once again message to the mind, and I want to share about 10 different points, while not kowtowing what not to do. But this little project right here you're looking at, right, is a when two became one, you know, and what that has to do with not folding is I for a long time I've pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed this thing that where um, the first bloodline of people and the second bloodline of people are not the same. And because, certain people want to believe certain things that they've been told. For example, if they went with the scientific evolution, Darwinian type point of view of things, and a person says to them, well, hey, look, I don't necessarily believe that to be the case, maybe that person is right, you know? Maybe, that person actually knows what they're talking about. Um, I think it would be a mistake to insinuate that simply because it's never been tested or known by us it's fallacy. But once we've tested such things, and we have, and they've fallen through the cracks, and they have, it's no longer wise to give credence to them. So the fact that people fold and bow down to these ludicrous ideas and these ideologies that are no more than the I'm not going to call it theoretic madness, but it borders it borders insanity because and to me really it is insane because these people with these theories have done the same thing every time seeking a different result, and this be the point is that I'm going to throw all the stuff I have to the wall and then we shall see what sticks. Now people don't understand is that every time they buy into something or every time they give into something, they've now effectively given in. They've folded. The kowtow looks like this. Let me show you 1 second. This is what the real kowtow looks like, just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. And it's a Chinese form of, obeisance. You know what I'm saying? Where you pretty much pay homage to someone. Uh, it's what we don't want to do right there. We don't want to fold, and fervently beg someone for anything. This is the last thing we need to be doing. It's unwise. I can't stress enough not kowtowing, not bowing down like this. Um, 1 second. So, with all that minded, with all that put forth, let me go ahead and share these little points with you. And the first of them, and mine, disclaimer, I did not. What up, y'all? Hey, how y'all doing? But I did not put this stuff in order. It's not in order of what's the word I'm looking for? Of like the actual importance of the point. So there's just 10 little things I wrote down. In your mind, you can prioritize however you feel, but these are things that I know that these keep you from kowtowing. Trust me. So here we go. And this is the overall point of having a plan. Number one, stay thinking. Keep it simple to maximum effectiveness. What I mean by that is that at all times you should be processing the information, you know, You should be thinking about what it is that you're going through or what it is that you have to face. So that way, you know the proper mechanisms or the proper devices you should use going forward. So that way, you can ensure either success or the least amount of damage done to your persons or resources. However, oh, everything is well. I'm going to talk about my court stuff here in a second, but I just wanted to break into this stuff first and really just kind of just go all in on it. I'm gonna semi touch the little movie stuff in a second and kind of move through it because I want you guys to kind of see what I'm doing. You know, got a little project. I got two projects really. Well, I have a bunch of projects on the side, but these two that I'm working on, the one is showing the merger of the two bloodlines. And this would show how the Most High not only saved the first creation, but he was able to put them into the second creation through their maternal connection. Uh, I really can't say where in which the people changed or possibly might have what's the word I'm looking for made it back in with the Adamite bloodline. But the safest presumption, and I'm going to get back to my points here in a moment, is that Seth mated with the people from the first bloodline, like his brother did, Cain. You could argue then after that the children that would have been Adam's children, his daughters or something like that, then you could argue maybe Seth's children has children with Adam's other children, but that's neither here nor there. In my mind, I think when one actually investigates into it and actually looks at what happened, I wouldn't be far fetched to say that unless you actually presume that Seth waited to have children until one of the other children of Adam was grown and that he married his sister. I mean, like you're going like way off, you know what I mean? Way off, way off reservation with that. It's just easier to assume that he was with the same people that Cain married. And then we go from there. But let me get back to my points. So I said the first one was stay thinking and keep it simple to maximum effectiveness. So you keep it simple at all times. Whatever you're doing, you think of the most simple thing you can do, the easiest thing to do. That's going to exert the least amount of energy and give you the greatest benefit. I cannot stress it enough. The least amount of energy and the greatest benefit. Number two, stay calm when plans go awry, even more when being accosted. So a lot of times bad stuff happens. I know most people don't panic when they're adults, but sometimes the first mode might be to take actions that are fruitless. And we're trying to avoid fruitless actions. This goes back into the first part. Stay thinking and keep it simple to maximum effectiveness. So if you stay calm, it's easier for you to stay thinking. And then it's easier for you to stay into step one. You see how this is all going to fall together? Okay, bam. When you're being accosted, though, whatever means that is, a neighbor harassing you, law enforcement, a stalker, I don't know. But whatever the situation may be, it's even best that you stay calm because it's even easier for you to think. And then once again, you want to keep it simple at all times. You don't want to go out of your way. You want to make everything right there in front of you, as tangible as can be. Number three, when applicable, keep all documentation. That's one of the ones where I was just thinking about it. This is number three. It'll tie into other stuff that I say later. So just keep that in mind. Number four, tell only those you can and will hold accountable about plans. Anyone else, give nothing. In unique circumstances, be vague. So what I mean by that is just as it sounds, is that if you can't do something for a person, right? And this is a form of holding them accountable, right? Right? That means that if you can't say, hey, yo, I can't chirp at you, or if I can't even FaceTime, whatever, if I can't hold you accountable to some means and degree, there's no means in my mind to telling a person like that a grave plan, a master plan, your $1 million plan is not somebody. Yeah, you don't tell that plan to someone that you can't hold accountable in some means. You can't. Once again, this goes back to proper documentation, because if it's documented, right, you can hold them accountable. If it's not documented, you can't. It's that simple. This is the laws of their land. You live here. You've been living here your whole life, more than likely. I know you understand this. And when I say by be vague, that means, so let's say, once again, I'm going to go back to step two, when you're being accosted and staying calm. So when I say a unique circumstance, let's say you're being questioned by the police or by a prosecutor, or you're in court or whatever, you're in some type of situation where in which your words lead to an immediate consequence, or can lead to one. In those circumstances, especially when where which the more details you give, the greater trouble you'll probably be in. That's one of those things where we all have to, like, we have to make sense of that, and we have to know where in which we can line that up. That's not just for you to be like, okay, well, I'm only going to use that when I'm talking to people like law enforcement or this or that. No, that's, you use that in any situation. You use that in a situation if you're talking to a teacher at school about discipline towards the child. You might say, yeah, I'm gonna have them go home and write 15 times, I will respect my teacher. Now you might know in your mind, I'm gonna have them go home and write 100 times that. But 100, not 1,500, but you get what I mean. 100 times, I will not, I will not disrespect my teacher, or I will not, be off task in class or whatever. Stuff that I had to do as a child that my parents made me do. My dad made me. I used to hate that stuff. You get a phone call home, so you either get a whooping or you do this. I was always like, like, unless I really didn't want to do it, and then I'm like, forget it. Let me just go ahead and take the whooping, get it over with. I would normally opt out. You know what I mean? Like, but I used to catch whoopings all the time for stuff to where there is no negotiation. However, that's neither here nor there. I don't mean to get off reservation. Let me get back. Number 5, hold your own spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, substantially. And when I mean hold your own, I mean that in the most kind regards, but also in the most firm regards. If you fancy yourself being a teacher of of a small community of brethren, of sistren, if you fancy yourself being the leader of a family unit, if you fancy yourself being the leader of a congregation of some sort, or you're a sheriff or a firefighter or an actual teacher in the classroom, these are things that a person has to know, that you have to hold your own. And this is part of, don't ever kowtow. You cannot fold to who it is that you are, because the problem with people is that they don't hold their own, right? And then they end up folding. This I promise you, if you go and you look into most cases, and I'm gonna go back into proper documentation real quick. If you go back into most cases where these guys are sitting down, locked up in prison, you will probably find that most times in cases they were forced to say something that they would not have normally said. That's a form of kowtow. That's many men that who are in prison, that I know who are in prison, kowtow, signed agree. I know a dude right now doing time for a murder that everybody knows he didn't commit, and he's doing 30 years for it because he didn't freaking hold his own. Didn't have enough mental capacity, and then his emotions weren't strong enough because he probably didn't have enough spiritual capacity. Once again, these are things that you have to really accept. We've all folded on something in life. That's neither here nor there. That's why I'm saying don't ever kowtow. If I need to say don't ever kowtow again, then let me say that. But don't ever kowtow, because this is the problem with people, is that they go against what I'm saying. Not keeping proper documentation is a form of folding. Want to know why? Because when you can't prove something that you know happened, that's your fault. You didn't hold your own. So therefore, you kowtowed. You submitted all on your own, needlessly and excessively. One moment. Number 6, be accountable for your malicious or ill deeds. Right your wrongs with alms. So I'm not thinking that anybody that I'm talking to is an axe murderer. But I'm not a saint. And I don't think anybody I'm talking to right now is like, can be like, I've never done anything wrong. But I don't think anybody I'm talking to is a real bad person. So once again, this is just me reaching out and saying this is part of not folding. Part part of you being of your good person stuff. Part of you looking out for you is you taking care of the things that you know are wrong. You may not ever be able to right some of the wrongs that you've done, but how you fix that right there is by giving to another person, or by giving to a circumstance or a situation that you can help. This is true. Many people don't want to hear this. This is once again, being accountable is not a that's not easy. You know, who wants to be accountable for a hit and run that they did years ago? And I've never done that. But it's just one of those things where it's like people do that kind of stuff. It's one of those things that happen out here. A young man got hit by a car about a year ago and lost his arm and his leg. They never found the driver. Never found the driver. And it's like, you know, they folded. They folded by not doing the right thing. They kowtowed to their own fears of not being accountable. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. That's a form of folding. That's a form of I give in. Because if you do something out of wickedness, did you not fold to your wickedness? Yes, you did. And this is something that most people don't like to hear. They don't want to hear. Because it doesn't exonerate them from the wrongdoing. That's not what I'm here to do. The don't ever kowtow doesn't mean don't hold yourself responsible. Don't not hold yourself responsible. That's not what that says. You know what I mean? And that's another thing, that people have wrong. But I'll get to that in a moment. Number 7, learn the law of the land. This goes in with a lot of things. Most people don't know the law of the land. So therefore they might do something, right? And they don't realize. Once again, this goes into whether or not you might give in to a charge of something that you haven't done, or maybe you may have committed something that is a major infraction that you don't think is a big deal. This is why you need to know, because either way you folded. You either gave in to a desire on a whatever level, you can call it primitive, whatever you want to call it, right? Atavistic. I don't really care. But it's still one of those things where people don't know the law of their land, and I mean know the law of your land. So if you live in New York, you need to know the New York state constitution. You need to have general vague understanding of that. If you live, in the Carolinas, you need to know, okay, so I live in South Carolina. This is the damn state constitution. This is what's going on. I live in North Carolina. This is the state constitution. What's going on? I live in Florida. Blase, 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 blase. Kansas, all these other states, wherever it is a person resides and goes. For example, they do vary from state to state, but there's also rules and regulations, and there's certain things that a state might or might not abide by. Like for example, every state doesn't have a stand your ground law, But if your state doesn't have a stand your ground law, it's this thing that's called the castle doctrine, and it gives you the right expressly to defend yourself or your property or others, right? If you feel that you are within harm's way or within harm's reach. The reason why this is important is because, once again, knowing the law of the land means that it gives you the ability of not having to make a bad decision. Once again, staying calm. You have to be able to stay calm so you can think on what is the law of this land. The things I'm saying do fall together. They really do fall together. Um, Whenever I think about something, I try not to make it too much. Um, but there is a lot that I think a lot of us will overlook, overreach. You know, for example, in the state of Washington, a search warrant, depending on the search warrant, the nature of it, can be served at any time, right? Now, in general, these are search warrants that deal with, drugs in nature or high risk or violent crime type things, that type of nature. Normally, they will set a parameter. So this is a daytime warrant, or they'll set the parameter that this warrant can be served at any time in injunction. However, though, knowing when a person can do something to you or when they can't, huge. Um, the laws of the land also constitute other things. Um, I'm not sure if there's any states here in the U.S., but there's certain countries where, like Singapore, you can't spit on the side. It's illegal. You know what I mean? Like, they'll take you to jail and fine you. So, this is just being mindful. Always try to know the law of the land that you're in. Always. Number 8, have your contingency close or nearby. Always have contingent before you employ yourself for anything, anywhere. So, well, no matter what you're doing, you should always have a backup plan. You should always have a plan going into something. So, I give you a prime example. When I went to court this last week, I was like, they might try to take me to jail. I didn't think they would, but I was like, there's a chance, because you never know, what they want to do. And you have to be willing to know this. So I gave my roommate rent money, and we made the contingency. Well, if they do lock me up, I'm gonna bail out. You're gonna bail me out, or we're gonna talk to my dad. But I have the money, and we'll use my money and we'll bail me out. So going forward, that just would have been the plan, and then I would have sought, criminal defense, this, that, and the. You see what I'm saying? Like, there was a plan. I had a clear plan in my mind going forward. I didn't have a wing. I'm just going to go in there winging it. I researched the laws that were, once again, in conjunction to what's going on, to what I have going on. That means that deals with it, and that's all I did. I didn't think nothing else about it. But your contingency has to be close. You know what I'm saying? So I can't expect for somebody in Florida to bail me out of jail here in Washington. It's just not going to work. You always have to have your contingency. It's a must. You have to have it close. Number 9, never agree to anything that you aren't capable or able to see through. So a lot of people go to jail repetitiously because they sign on for deals, you know what I mean, that they can't see through. People will lose a job or a good contract because they know that the parameters of that contract were something that they probably couldn't live up to. Not that they weren't capable in their own skills, but the time frame given, the resources that they were going to be allotted. However, sometimes I think that people will overlook these things and they make them not important, and once again, they don't see how this falls into not folding. Give me one moment, y'all. Let me read the definition of Kowtow, the clinical definition, because I think that people have the knowledge that I'm giving, and then what it is that they're hearing all wrong. An act and act in excessively subservient manner. Synonyms: grovel, to be servile, to be obvious. You know what I'm saying? These guys, these dudes are so funny. To truckle to, abase oneself before, humble oneself to. The historical bounds for this is the kneel and touch the ground with the forehead in worship or submission as part of Chinese custom. Synonyms: prostrate oneself, bow down, genuflect to, before, make obeisance to. Oh my goodness. So once again, I think that people don't realize that they can make themselves humble, servile to something, a servant to something without even realizing it, you know. And it's just like I always laugh because this is part of having a strong mind, and this is part of being a strong person, is that we have to know what it is that we're dealing with. Number 10, be on your best at all times. Being an ambassador of good tidings will bring favor one day and mercy the next. So when I say that right there, people might say, well, you know, that goes back into being accountable, but 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 this is before you have to be accountable. If you're on your best at all times, or if you're on your best at all times, you know, whenever you can have it be a manifest thought, then being accountable for a malicious or ill deed is something that a person doesn't have to do. Therefore, that antiquates that. You know, these are things that are meant to, once again, to keep a person from having to fold or from folding. Um, so once again, be on your best at all times. Being an ambassador of good tidings will bring favor one day and mercy the next. I can't help but to believe that if you do the right thing, right? Um, and it might not be. Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You've done the right things to receive what it is that you're receiving. It's not that you're special. It's not that I'm special. It's not that I'm a quick thinker. It's not that because you have such good cognitive reasoning, brother and sisters. That's not the reason why. You know, it's because you came with, you know, your best intentions that you could have at all times, you know. And because you were an ambassador of good tidings, you earned the good favor. And then maybe one day you were at the mercy of something. And then that same good tidings you brought has now garnered you mercy. This is something that many people will overlook. And this is part of not kowtowing. Because if you're servile, or if you prostrate yourself to wickedness and to evil deeds, you can't get mercy when another person gets mercy. You can't seek to receive it. You can ask for it, but it's it's just an unrealistic thing for a person to say that I want mercy, right? But yet all their actions have been against what is mercy. So once again, that's just and then, you know, if I had to just reflect all 10 of those, all 10 of those things is stay thinking, keep it simple to maximum effectiveness, stay calm when plans go awry, even more when being accosted. Number 3, when applicable, keep all documentation. Number 4, tell only those you can and will hold accountable about plans. Anyone else, give nothing. In unique circumstances, be vague. Number 5, hold your own spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, substantially. Number 6, be accountable for your malicious or ill deeds. Right your wrongs with alms. Number 7, learn the law of the land. Number 8, have contingency close or nearby. Always have contingent before you employ yourself for anything, anywhere. Number 9, never agree to anything that you aren't capable or able to see through. And number 10, Be on your best at all times. Being an ambassador of good tidings will bring favor one day and mercy the next. What up? And that's right, sowing and reaping. you know I can't stress, not this has everything to do with not kowtowing. You can't kowtow, you can't fold. um and just to elaborate, we're where people have to give up so much, you know rent, other bills, other living expenses. There's things that you don't have to ever, like, you don't have to change anything. Like, if you don't want to wear a certain kind of clothes, nobody can make you do that. If you don't want to dye your hair or pierce your ears or have tattoos, nobody can ever make you do that. But there's certain things that you have to do. So I'm not saying don't be responsible. Once again, don't take what I'm saying or don't use it as a means, for ill intent. Because if anything, I've told you, don't do things that are wrong. Try to right your wrongs. And then, in the end, I'm saying that, is to, if before a person can ever even have been wrong, be on your best. It's very hard for me to believe that a person who was on their best behavior doing something had something extremely bad happen to them. Things, tragedies strike and take place, but when you're on your best behavior, it's impossible for a person, for a group of people, especially with the, today's age where there's all these cameras and things everywhere, for a person to say that you were acting a certain way if your hands were folded and you had a totally calm, firm, yet I won't even say docile, but a neutral demeanor, then a person, it's hard to paint a picture about you. It's hard to say something to you. But if you fold to the anger, right? If you get angry and you kowtow to your anger, you've lost. That's why I'm saying don't ever kowtow. It's deeper than just not folding to the system. It's deeper than just saying, oh, I'm not going to give white man my money or something like that. Like, it's way bigger than that. It's bigger than one or two people can put our words. It's bigger than I can have in a conversation, with my people. I think one of the worst things that go on and that happen is that it's always one of those things that I try to keep in my mind, that we're all just people, we're all just regular people, we're all just normal, and we're subject to feeling however we feel. I feel tired, but tired's not an emotion. Can you dig it? And I'm not changing subjects, but I just want you to get it, is that, I might be upset emotionally, and to give that, I might be, I guess you could just say sad, right? And you can say, well, you can feel sad too, but that's the feeling and the emotion are different. And they drive different responses. you know um when a person feels sad for a moment, they don't necessarily give in to that. But when they're emotionally sad, now a person is fighting back tears or trying to quell their anger, forms of depression that some people don't even realize are depression. um so once again, when I say don't ever kowtow, I mean more or less, not just to self, but to the things that they've set up for us to want to fold to. You know, they make people want to throw in the towel. I was talking to my brother over there in the UK, my brother Ben Judah, and we were chopping it up, and he was talking about how, can you blame people for wanting to throw in the towel? And in so many words, no, but at the same time, when they've thrown in the towel, they've kowtowed. So I can't, at the same time, I can't commend their action. You know, for every slave that killed themselves and ended their life, there's another slave that had children and that kept living. You know, because they understood that maybe one day this won't be like this. So you can't fold before it all changes. You know, we've all seen those movies where if that guy had just held on for like another 10 seconds or 20 seconds, people were about to come save him, but he kills himself or he sacrifices himself needlessly. And, you know, and you're like, wow, you know, how corny was that? But in real life, this is what people do. People jump the gun early and excessively for no reason. Um, it's one of the worst things in the world to witness people destroy themselves because not only did they capitulate, which is in so many words to agree, to acquiesce to their own fate, but it's like they signed off on it, you know. So this is why not kowtowing, not folding is such an important thing. We you know we as people have to do what we can. Um, I want to ask you guys something, you know, and this is biblical, but it goes into folding, you know, and just like a little blanket. Who's more wrong in the book of the Acts? I want to say chapter 14, verse 12, if I'm not mistaken, and where the people pretty much praise Paul and Barnabas as gods, right? Now these people are praising these men and not only do they praise them like they're gods, but they name them. One they call Mercurius, who was Hermes of the Greek canon, but of the Roman canon, he's Mercurius, and then Jupiter, who was of the Roman canon, and then who would be translated as Zeus. Now, Paul, neither Barnabas, never deny these claims. They never deny these people of what they said. In fact, they fold even more and say, sirs, why do ye do this? We are men of like passion. So to give credence to what I'm saying is that if I was walking down the street and I was like, yeah, man, I love fried chicken, and a brother passes by and says, yeah, I'm a man of like passion, that means he also loves fried chicken. So if the people were ready to give up sacrifice to the so-called gods, who they assume were these two men in the flesh, and these two men in the flesh said, we are men of like passions, that means that they believe what these people believe. The when in Rome, be a Roman is kowtowing. We don't do that. We don't fold like a little wet blanket. That is the worst thing you could probably ever do while you're alive, you know, because it's one of the things that bothers men and women their whole lives. You know, these are moments that they try to get back through other actions. Um, a lot of guys wonder why they'll meet a chick who might have a reputation, but for this guy now, she's acting like she's hard to get because she has a reputation. She's kowtowed for everybody else. She figures, if I'm going to start, I got to start somewhere. I might as well start here. It's the same thing for a man who has a reputation. And chicks here that all they have to do is kind of approach him and he'll do the rest. You know what I mean? And he figures, you know what? I see what she's trying to do. If I'm going to start somewhere, I have to start here. So this is an idea that a person has to imbue into their life. You know, they have to understand that not kowtowing falls directly in line with following the laws of what of one said prophet Moses told the people to do. You don't fold. You don't give in to what everyone else is doing. You don't do what everyone else is doing. It's one of the saddest things when you watch people pretty much effectively give up their lives or give in to something that will do them no good and no justice. And the people that are getting them to do it are people who will never have to either see justice or they were never in the realm to being affected in the first place. So a part of not kowtowing is also just not doing things that benefit other people far greater than it's going to benefit you, you know. And I'm not saying once again where you work or whatever what you do for a living. No, it's like they're not a relative. They know, you know that they make a decent amount of money for a living. They want you to help them move, but they want you to help them to move for peanuts, for next to nothing. When they would pay, a moving company, a professional moving company, bukus of money. And so now they want your services. They want you to do the same thing a moving company would do, maybe with not as stringent standards, but still standards. And now they're asking you to do it for next to nothing for free. Where if you sustain an injury, this, that, and the other, all these other things, that's on you. See what I'm saying? That's not on them. Because unless you have that written up contractually and then, have it notarized, blah, 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 blah. These are, once again, who wants to do that with a friend or a person that they call a friend of the family or that they call family, extended family, whatever. But at the same time, you as a person can't willingly lend yourself to another person's disposal for their gain. That's not wise. I used to know a guy. He used to have a hot dog stand in Seattle. He used to let dudes come to his hot dog stand and sell dope at his hot dog stand. They shut this dude down, right? And they shut down like 2 or 3 other hot dog stands, people I didn't know, for the same stuff. No, man, you're absolutely right, brother. Man, you're absolutely right, brother. And then they want to tell you that because you're black, you don't do it as good as the white guys do it or whatever. And it's because of things like that. This is why I'm saying what I'm saying. Don't ever kowtow, because that's what they want us to do. It's one thing if you have to cooperate to get something done, but you don't ever fold. And I can dig it, bro. You're absolutely right, man. You're so right, bro. I know a few brothers out here who are mechanics, really good mechanics, and they normally do the works for lesser than the shops do it anyway, but I always pay those brothers a little more, a little extra, just because it's like, your time is valuable. You know what I mean? What you're doing to me is dangerous. You understand what you're doing to the degree where in which you don't need anyone's supervision. You just need the tools and you need the hardware to fix it, and you need the time, because it's a very meticulous effort. Once again, a person who's never, either watched these things happen or just dealt with life, they can't say nothing. Right. No, right. Man, right there, man. Exactly. Right. Right. Stop. Right. Just right. Oh man. I love you guys. I really do love you guys. I'm having too much fun right now. Uh uh this week I was at court, and I just want to share this with y'all, Whatever y'all been praying, man, keep praying it. You know what I'm saying? Keep praying it. Cause cause man, it has been very effective. It has, when I say it has been highly, I don't know what y'all have been saying to the Most High, but I tell you, he crinkled his pinky toe or something. He ain't move really. It was a subtle crinky toe. It was so little nobody could even see it. Like straight. I'm trying to tell y'all like some unbelievable stuff because I went to court for the revision hearing, and the judge wasn't there, and they had another commissioner in there, and this commissioner, he was almost as bad as the first commissioner. I'm not gonna lie. He wasn't very pleasant. However, um, I go to court. One of the first things he says to me, because I asked the lady bailiff, I say, "Where's the prosecutor's office at?" Before she can get it out of her mouth, he tells me, he says, "Shut your mouth and sit down." So you know what I did, right? I sat my mouth. I shut my mouth and I sat it down. So I was quiet, you know. And then I waited my turn. And then when everybody was speaking, I said, "Miss Lady Bailiff," I said, "Where is the prosecutor's office at? Which floor is that?" She said, "The fifth floor." I said, "Thank you." Then the commissioner got even more angry. While we were speaking, the whole matter of the revision is because I said that the judge or the commissioner, like this guy, didn't allow me to serve one said Brian Hewitt, badge number 7654, Seattle Police Department, West Precinct. He took it upon himself to tell the commissioner there that, yes, Demetrius tried to serve me with a motion to terminate, but the commissioner told him that he had to wait 6 months. Now, I again was told to shut my mouth. What did I do? I got quiet again. But this time, I formulated in my head exactly what I would say. And was I angry or perturbed? Sure. But I was less angry because I had heard enough to carry out the verbal bombardment that which took place. And it was something like this. After he got done, I said, because he was talking and talking over me. I said, well, however, it's all said and done. The RCW 7.94010, Section 1, Article A. And I said, I can't exactly state it, word for word. I was like, but it goes something along the lines that when the respondent is served by the petitioner, the extremist protection order, they thereupon in which can serve a motion to terminate in that moment. A respondent can only serve one motion to terminate within a 12-month period, right? But at any time, a respondent can serve a motion to terminate. And now it goes on to tell about how if one is going to have the motion to terminate put through, that the court has to give 105-day notice to the said petitioner, blase, blase, blase. Anyway, as it carries on, the commissioner is listening, and I think he followed that when he got on and actually read the RCW, because he typed it on with his little fingers, that he said, "Oh, wow." Then he stopped. And at some point, there was me telling the commissioner, the exact nature of the warrant, this, that, and the other. But what this has to do with kowtowing, the whole point of this is that when it was all said and done, I was given a court date 2 weeks from there. The same 2 weeks that I had to wait, where in which you guys knew what happened 3 days after I had the one court date. So that was crazy. But they emailed me 3 days ago saying that I have court on August 3, which is on Friday. And they said that it's about the motion for revision. And what I thought was amazing was that I said, "Oh, okay, this actually might be to where they're actually going to talk about the fact that this guy admitted in the courts that commissioner abridged my rights as a citizen." That would be the only logical thing to do, because to try to charge me with the crime would beckon to question all these other activities that took place. Things that I've done nothing about. I haven't actually hired a lawyer and sought true litigation for. However, this is part of not kowtowing. If you fold, then they're going to get the best of you. If you get, I promise you, if you go to a place where, let's say you're trying to get an apartment, and I've seen this a bunch of times. I used to be an apartment manager, and we used to go do these training things, right? And this was like once or twice a month. We would have to go out, and sometimes you would go to like a different property, but normally you would just go to Seattle. But you get to watch these little videos, and you get to watch these like these different examples that would seem corny, but this is what people really do, and they don't get an apartment, they don't get a home. So they go somewhere, and then the person says, well, it says here that you're a felon, and they get angry. The first thing they do is get defensive, as opposed to saying that was an incident that took place this many years ago. I've been exonerated of those crimes since. I was charged, not convicted. It just comes up as a felony. But if you call this state and you ask them for the records in regards to whatever whoever's name it is, John Doe, you will see that I've been exonerated of all such claims. But because John Doe got pissed the fuck off and didn't allow itself to actually even articulate itself, like he can talk, like John Doe knows how to talk. John Doe, Kowtow, he literally folded to his own anger. And people don't see it like that. This is why I can say, like, you have to know when you have to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. Excuse me. Had a little moment just then, a little list moment. That's right. But you have to know that stuff. It's just knowing these things. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's easier said than done. Tempers are flaring, emotions are running high. Your mind is processing 1,000 thoughts every moment. All you know is, you want to make sure that whatever the issue is, the circumstance is, your grievance is felt. I totally understand that. I'm with you. But at the same time, you have to have the mind as an individual to say, on what level am I going to cause other people hurt? On what level am I going to bring other people hurt? Not folding is a big responsibility. Let me grab something real quick. Let me read something to you. It's from the book of Joshua, while I'm talking about not folding. And we're going to start at verse 22 of the 24th chapter. And I'm just going to go down just real quick. And this has to do with kowtowing. Listen to what Joshua says to the people. Okay? Listen to what Joshua meant for the people to do. This is very important. Verse 19, actually. And Joshua said to the people, indeed, ye will not be able to serve the Lord, for God is holy, and he, being jealous, will not forgive your sins and your transgressions. Whosoever ye shall forsake the Lord and serve other gods, then he shall come upon you and afflict you and consume you. And because he has done you good. And the people said to Joshua, nay, but we will serve the Lord. And Joshua said to the people, ye are witnesses against yourselves, that ye have chosen the Lord to serve him. And now take away the strange gods that are among you, and set your heart right toward the Lord God of Israel. And the people said to Joshua, we will serve the Lord, and we will hearken to his voice. So Joshua made a covenant with the people on that day, and gave them a law and an ordinance in Shiloh, before the tabernacle of God of Israel. And he wrote these words in the book of the laws of God. And Joshua took a great stone and set it up under the oak, which is properly a pine or a turpentine tree. One moment, before the Lord. And Joshua said to the people, behold, this stone shall be among you for a witness, for it has heard all the words that have been spoken to it by the Lord. For he has spoken to you this day. And this stone shall be among you for a witness in the last days, whenever ye shall deal falsely with the Lord my God. And Joshua dismissed the people, and they went every man to his place. And Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that lived, or drew out the time with Joshua, or lived as long as Joshua, and all that knew all the works of the Lord, which he had wrought for Israel. Now, I'm going to close it right there. If you heard what Joshua said, do you hear how he pimped him into the equation? See, he didn't get them to fold. What they did was they gave in willingly. They kowtowed all on their own, but then they folded again for stuff that we know that they did. If anybody wants to argue that the Israelites did not knowingly worship, praise, give homage to, sacrifice to other gods, be my guest. But the Bible has it written otherwise. So it's only wise for me to tell myself in my mind that even though these people said that we will serve, we will capitulate, we will give in to the Most High, that they didn't. And that they did exactly what it is that Joshua said that they might do. What did he say? Deal falsely with the Lord? Come on. He didn't just pick any old actions. So he means that you've done the shake my hand and then cross your fingers behind your back move. And that's the wickedness, and that's kowtowing, because you've already folded. While you already said you were going to do one thing, you've already folded back to some other stuff. That's wicked. And that's kowtowing. And that is folding for something. Now, I'm not saying that folding for the Most High is bad, but I would rather fold for the Most High. If I'm going to kowtow, if I'm going to give in to something, then I would rather do it for that than for doing it out of my anger or out of lust or out of greed, right? You see what I'm saying? Because in any one of those moments, you might lose everything that you have, all that you hold dear and all that you love. And then there's almost never an action that will reverse something that a person has done that is really wrong. Like, a lot of these guys will go out in a place like, let's say, like Baltimore, right? Get caught up. Young man gets killed. Now, the guy that kills him, he thinks he's tough until he ends up on the end of the barrel of the gun. But because he's already folded to the system where he's already done this to somebody else, it can be done to him a lot easier. See, this is why, once again, not folding and giving in is also important, because when you don't give in, you don't allow for what happened to you or what could have happened to you to continue to happen. One of my favorite stories, because I don't know if you guys know, I personally have deep disdain for I do not like my name. I do not like the name Demetrius. I do not like it. I love me, but the name I don't like, because historically the name is associated with some pretty wicked characters. And one of my favorite stories about not kowtowing, there was a Demetrius, black Grecian homosexual who used to forcibly advance himself onto young Hebrew boys. Well, one young Jew boy, as opposed to allowing this man to force himself onto him, he jumped into a cauldron of boiling hot water He was hailed a hero among the people. So because he did not allow that man to violate him once, not ever, he was never violated again. Where he did not, he's obviously he died, but he was never violated again. And then it gave credence for people to say, you know what? Right, that's what I'm talking about. That's what, and I'm not telling you to die. That's not even close to what I'm saying, but it's just the fact that there are things sometimes that if you do them, the death or the ass whooping or the loss of resources or whatever that was going to take place is far less than the continuation of the abuse that you're going to suffer. I have a hard time listening to what other people have done to another person because I believe in justice. So if a person says this person did this to me and there's undeniable proof and evidence, for me, it's, well, you kind of have to accept that for what it is. But when there's not that, and that's just a claim, once again, to not kowtow, to not fold is the most important thing you can do. There are going to be many people who allow for negative, evil, wicked things to happen to them, to take place in their life in the soon future, because they don't have in their mind that standing up for themselves, even if it's being silent, even if not saying a word, even if inaction, taking no action is the most action that you could do, that shows the most strength, right? And that's what you do. But it's, once again, you have to be able to think about these things. You have to know what it is in your mind, because you can't just make it up, you know. I don't believe in winging it unless you have to. You know, I don't believe in compromising yourself ever. I just don't. Because once you're compromised, you can never go back to what it is that you were doing. You know, so you will cooperate with the circumstances, right? Or you will compromise, and eventually you will kowtow. It is undoubtable it's going to happen. It's a must. If a person says to me that if I date a girl who's on drugs, I won't buy drugs for her. But one day she comes over and she's really, 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 really sick, or whatever the hell they call it. And that guy buys her drugs so she can get high and feel better, right? He's now broke his word. So now she knows, so long as I make it look drastic and make it look bad, he's gonna buy me some dope, or he's gonna buy me some coke, or he's gonna get my fix for me. Whether it is that she just drinks alcohol, whatever. Like, you know, you're like, I don't like it when you drink. You get a little excited, you get a little rambunctious, whatever. You know, this doesn't just apply to just one form of your life. You know, I think people hear something one time, hear something or read something, and they assume that it's only to be applied to just one circumstance and one, you know, and that the principality of it isn't, you know, far-reaching or omni-encompassing. Once again, let me go back to what I said for number 7. Learn the law of the land, right? A lot of people find themselves in situations because they don't know basic laws. A lot of states have laws that are normally favorable for tenants as opposed to the lesser. So the person who leases the apartment out, whoever the agent is, whether they're the owner or a manager or rental agent, doesn't really matter. A lot of states will have things that have laws and ordinances that speak in regards to how a person is to keep their yard. Little do people know this. The cities will even have their own ordinances that back these things up. Sometimes a city will have an ordinance because there's no state law or there's no state codes that actually cover that and encompass it. I give you a prime example. In the city of Tacoma, where I live, it's against the law to ride a bike without a helmet. They will give you like a fucking $200 ticket, yo. Like straight up, no problem. But if you go to Seattle, though there's way more bicyclists out there, it's not illegal. Like it's there's the Seattle Municipal Code doesn't exactly require you to ride a bike with a helmet. It's kind of, you do at your own risk. You do at your own leisure. Whereas in Tacoma, a cop will stop you, pull you over for not having a helmet. This is a true story. So, I think by knowing the law of the land and basic nuances, it gives you the ability to not kowtow. Because kowtowing is also you doing what you don't know is wrong, whether you know it or not. Because now you become servitile and inadvertently to this scheme, to this plight. And it doesn't matter that you didn't know it, it's because you did it, I personally don't believe in the ignorance is not an excuse in the eyes of the law. I believe that ignorance is not an excuse for accountability. And and that's a difference. That's a major difference. To pay obeisances to somebody, it doesn't mean that you worship them. You know what I'm saying? So to bow down to somebody and to pay proper homage doesn't mean that I worship that person. It doesn't mean that you think that they're a deity. It's all about the mindset. And then this just goes back to stay thinking, first one, keep it simple to maximum effectiveness. Can't stress that enough. If we do everything that we can to the max effective ability, we make it to where there's a lot less room for error because we will hold ourselves accountable, Now, I'm going to go back to number 6 real quick, and then I'm going to dive into number 6 because that's one that I wanted to talk about a lot too, was be accountable for your malicious or ill deeds. These aren't always things that you do to other people. These are sometimes things that you do to yourself. Okay? Right. These are sometimes things that you might have told them. You might have made a promise to the Most High and broke that promise. So you need to find a way to make that right. Because you can no longer go back and remake a promise that you've already broken. This is important. This is, once again, this goes into not kowtowing because when you stay accountable, it's hard for you to fold. When you stay on top of yourself, it's hard for you to give in to something that's bad, or that you think is wrong. I, as a grown man, don't personally feel that what I say or do changes another person so much as it is that I give them time to think. By giving them time to think, I give them time to make a decision, hopefully of maximum effectiveness, while keeping it simple in thought. These are little things I try to do. I love just sitting down and doing nothing and just thinking. That's probably like my most favorite activity. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And, I wanted to talk about some other stuff, a little more spiritual stuff, but I think that this right here really is a strong thing right now because we have a lot going on in this country. We got a lot going on with the president. We have a lot going on with the actions that people are doing. This young man getting killed down there in Florida, the young lady getting killed down there in California. People questioning things, asking questions. Those situations, as much as they don't exactly deal with kowtowing, So much so, there's things that you do in your regular life that hurt your ability to see what you're doing is already subservient, already servitile. Um, for example, most people won't question a police officer. They won't. You get what I'm saying? Like most people will hear a cop or see a cop, and they're not going to be like, "What are you doing?" and "How do I know that what you're doing is legal?" They actually don't know that. I've seen it so many times where I tried to speak up for somebody, or I might have said something, and then they repeated it, and then it changed the whole dynamic of the situation. So, not folding and not giving in are are things that have far-reaching implications, and it's not just about not giving in to things that you know that you shouldn't eat, or things that you shouldn't put into your body. It's not just about that. It's about you knowing that you can't be servitile to a cause that will not be servitile to you. A prime example: I have yet to speak a word about this immigration stuff or people at the border because I don't care. You follow what I'm saying? I'm not going to kowtow for that cause. It's my first time really even kind of like really going into it like this. Like I brought it up vaguely, like in passing, but I don't care about that. I'm not going to kowtow to a cause in which if black people needed those same people that they were standing up for, if they needed them, that they wouldn't be there. So, and that's part of kowtowing. We don't kowtow. We're not servitile to other people's shit, man. Don't fold for other people and whatever it is that they have going on. Because it's normally if it's got nothing to do with you, then I as a person have a hard time. I have a hard time listening to my people giving in to things like that. I personally don't like that. I personally have a problem with that. You know, um, because there's just way too much going on like that. There's just way too much going on like that. Uh, it's just a blessing, y'all. It's just a blessing. I think I'm finally getting to a point in my life where certain things that would have bothered me before just don't bother me anymore. Things that would have made me upset don't make me upset. Uh, I've always been pretty simple. I've always been very simple. So but I'm finding more joy in things that are just, I mean, really, really. I've so for example, it's I can't even call it a guilty pleasure, but one of the things I enjoy doing right now, I like to go up the street and there's this plum tree with red plums on it, two of them, and I like to pick plums off of it, right? Put them in the bag, come home, put them in the fridge, let them get nice and cold, wash them off, and then just eat them throughout the day. And it's like, I'm just trying to just, not reinvent myself in any type of way, but it's like certain things that I feel like I've missed out on these last few years of my life because I've been so caught up on how can I how could I fix a situation that was totally broken, and I kowtowed to the situation. I folded to that situation so much so that things that I could have enjoyed, I didn't enjoy. Things that I probably should have observed and acknowledged, I didn't acknowledge. And this is why kowtowing is so so dangerous because sometimes we miss out because we fold and we give in. Sometimes we lose because we give in. Um, I don't think it's a matter of. I don't think it's a matter of just trying to enjoy yourself and find the simple things. It's okay. Boring is excellent. Boring is excellent. You know. I'm trying to get from one day to the next. I don't like all that excitement in my life these days. And I appreciate, the little things that I have. I have, I mean, when I say I love what I'm doing right now, I love it. I don't love everything that I have to go through, but I've enjoyed this so much. Um, it's this has been another learning lesson. This whole court thing has been like, you know, I know a lot of people like, how can you have enjoyed? I just have. I'm that kind of guy. Like, it's been like I couldn't tell you guys the last time I've been so actively involved and engaged and reading up on laws and just making sure that I defend myself to the fullest extent and I feel empowered in my own way, even though I know I don't have any power for real. And this is a way of having some power is by you not kowtowing, you not folding. That gives you some power. It gives you power back that you might not normally feel that you have because you didn't give in. You know, um, that's to anything. Whatever your guilty pleasures are that you feel bad about, don't kowtow to yourself. You know, regain control of those things. That's powerful. You feel more powerful like that. You know, this whole not having a firearm thing hasn't really affected me the way that I think that they wanted it to. You know, all it was like a sharp reminder that the Most High is really my protection, and that's it. And I mean, when you can make a bad situation something good, you know, learn from it, take from it, say, you know what, there's things from this I'm going to apply going forward forever. There's things from this I'm going to apply trying to use next year. This was an excellent skirmish before next year. I mean, you know, and this is why I can say, don't ever kowtow. Just don't fold, Don't give up. Don't give in. You know. The Most High does have us covered, man. His his way of making it to where, like no matter what's going on, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he's made it to where, I'm going to a courthouse where they've made it a point all but one time I've been in a courtroom with people who all have guns, you know? And I'm like, what is that? Like how much sense does that make? You disarm people completely before they get into the courtroom, but yet you guys have a gun. But the Most High's way of protecting us is just showing us, like, I'll let you walk into a situation where, you know, they want you to be scared and they want you to be apprehensive and they want you to say or do something where they can take action upon you and they want you to resist so they can kill you. You know? So I say don't kowtow, don't fold up, don't be like a wet blanket. And everybody I'm trying to tell you, if you guys have never seen a wet towel fold up, go get one wet right now. Just do a little litmus test with what I'm saying, and you will find out that yes, a wet blanket folds viciously. And that's how they want you to fold. They want you to give up just like that, like a little wet blanket. You know? This is why it's so important to not just know what the laws are or the rules of the land, but it's important to appreciate what it is that we've been told as people and what we've learned to do as people. You know, many of the things that we've done as a culture and as a group have been because we've been told that if we do this, these actions will take place. And many times many men, and in particular black men, will do these things, and that's not what happens. You know, I've never been the kind of black guy to be like, I'm gonna date a fat white chick, right? But I know when I say I know, in Washington State, there's not a real black community anywhere. You know, there's a few pockets of like black populations, but there's no real black community. So it's different. And so I think the vulnerability of black men to being susceptible not only to breeding out, but also to excusing themselves from breeding out is much higher. And what you see is, they're told, "Oh man, you get a fat white chick, bro. She'll buy you anything. She'll do this for you. She'll do that for you." And they find out that's not true. And now he's got the chick pregnant. She got a bunch of kids by him. You know what I mean? And if he don't do right by her, she gonna hit his ass for child support, just like any other chick would. So I just find it funny that these dudes end up in these situations because or these young ladies, I couldn't tell you guys how many times I've seen in Tacoma. If you came out to my city, you would see a black girl pushing a little mixed baby in a damn stroller, right? Wondering where's her baby's daddy at. Where's her white knight at? Where's her Asian knight? Where's her Mexican knight? Where's he at? You feel me? Because she chose them over her people, and now she looking stupid, and now she want, and it's just, once again, it's just all these things create all these horrible situations, where people call them unwanted children, but it's like, no, you wanted those children until they got here, and you realize that they didn't just get you a free ride or a pass or a break, from all these people that hate you, and this is one of those unique things, because I can honestly say I didn't grow up in a black community. I don't have that same perception that other people do. I grew up in a neighborhood that had a lot of black people in it where I live, but that's not a black community. You see what I'm saying? A true black community to me is one where obviously the black people know each other and they stick together. Not just one where there's a bunch of black people running around like, wild hooligans shooting, stabbing, and killing each other, for the sake of bravado or whatever. So, yeah, that's exactly another situation where the grass ain't always greener. Thank you. But see, I'm just speaking from the point of view of the guy, who's like, I can talk about not being in the black community because it's like I've never been in a real super duper black community. The times where I lived in other cities or whatever, they weren't for such a long time that I felt like I had an obligation to the people there. Maybe to certain individuals, but not to the community as a whole. And these are things that people, they don't want to understand. Like I don't feel obligated to doing anything for whatever group, for whatever reason, because I didn't grow up like that. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with my black family. That was my black community. My black family was my black community. And they did, they haven't been, they've been not as bad for, I guess, not killing each other, as some other black families are, but like, they've still been very dysfunctional. So, with them being my black community, I always will love my people. I will always, do my best to do right by my people. But I understand that, you can't do everything with your people, just because that's your family or just because those are black people to you, it doesn't mean that you can do something with them. You feel what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to do certain things by yourself. And, and if you want to do things with black people, you need to venture out and find individuals that are truly, really like-minded. You don't have to agree on everything, but you need to agree on most things. First off, what you believe in, there's no need for you trying to establish any kind of foundation with people who they believe in a whole nother theological system than you, So because because they don't believe in the Most High, they're not bound to respect any rules set by the Most High, no matter how much sense they make, because they believe what they believe, and people have to respect this. This is the world we were raised in. This is how they were taught to think that, they can do what they like. So because we're in a situation where people often will try to impose what they want or what they like as the order of the day, we're not going to get anywhere. Um, Black men here in Washington State, once again, because it's not a real black community, right? In the state, they're always rogues, and this is how they end up folding, because they don't have a foundation anywhere, where, okay, my roommate's not a black guy, but you know how many black guys that I don't know who don't have their shit together? You know what I mean? Right. The number is overwhelming. You know how many black guys I know who, no matter what you tell them, like, yo, bro, we don't need to be having these kind of people over here, these kind of people over here, these kind of people over here. They'll do it anyway. So it's like, in order for me to not be imbued in that life, living that life that that I don't need, there's nothing good gonna come from planning and plotting on people. Nothing. How can anything good come from that? How can anything good come from you saying, you know what, objectively, I'm going to sell poison to my people so I can make a profit? It's like, and these are the same people that are exonerating themselves, yet they've kowtowed, they've folded to everything. They give in to everything that people say. People get mad when I use, the term like super coon, but like, that's what people be doing. It's beyond just being the regular coon dude. Like, he does way too much. A prime example of super coon is your situation has nothing to do with their black ass. They see the cops fucking with you. You think this black motherfucker coming over here to help you get out the situation. They're like, yeah, I seen what he did. You like, this motherfucker trying to get me to go to jail. But he ain't see shit. He just want to earn brownie points with these white people. And he figured about throwing you under the bus real quick. Anything would do. He dream of situations like that. She dream of situations like that, of being able to distance themselves from their people and be like, yeah, at the same time, you know what I mean? I'm trying to earn some points with y'all. And not kowtowing, not folding has a lot to do with, you not going after the other side of things. A lot of black men kowtow to the thought that they don't want to be with black women. That's that's probably one of the strongest kowtow thoughts that are out there right now in the universe. I mean, you talk about a super, that's a negative thought that a lot of people kowtow to. Like, there's a lot of black men who kowtow to that thought, like, like they don't want to be with the black chick. And it's like, they'll make all these excuses and all these reasons for not being with a black woman. And these are the same dudes who cast judgment for black women dating white dudes. Yet he's got a Cuban chick or something like that. And she's not black Cuban. No, she looks like a white person. You feel what I'm saying? So, because there's a lot of these black dudes who once again, they've kowtowed to that. The black chicks who've kowtowed to, once again, to wanting the baby with good hair, or just thinking that another man from another community is going to provide better for her. And, and people want to say, oh, there's not that many black women who have, look, I live in one of the states that are probably, that probably lead a population in the whole US of people who are in these inter freaking racial relationships. So when you guys say a small percentage, that small percentage is, yeah, that's the whole map. But when you live in an area where it's concentrated, it's not, it's a big deal to you because you see it all the time. You know, swirling to me is way different than it is to people who live in the South who they see mixed couples, but they don't really see them. I've seen mixed couples my whole life. You know, I've only ever known that it was all right for other people to be together until I came into my own understanding a few years ago. So that's one of those things where, and sure, you hear all this shit when you're a little kid and, you know, a young teenager. If she can't use your comb, don't bring her home. Blase, 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 blase. But these are things that you don't play into consideration because you're not thinking about genetics. You're not thinking about gene sequences, gene frequencies. You're not thinking about alleles, dominant or recessive. You're not thinking about none of that kind of stuff when people get together. You know, uh, I can't stress it enough. You can't fold to the thoughts of other people. You can't give in to the thoughts of other people because your brain is your brain. You know, uh, if the powers that be, let's say, for example, my mama's from Greenville, Mississippi, right? Super racist. When I say super racist, super racist. But there's things that you can do in Greenville, Mississippi as a black man, like go find a black woman, right? That I can't do here readily, easily here in Washington State, where I'm not worried about rampant racism still, because I understand that, you know, each state, though it's the United States, each state is like its own country, you know, and they have the right and the ability to govern their state how they see fit within the so-called, you know, frame of the Constitution. The problem is, though, is that as Sister Adrian Smith, you know, said, is that another situation where the grass ain't always greener is, that's exactly what it is. You have a lot of brothers who've been living up north their whole life, who are relocating to the south. Got a lot of people who are coming from the south, coming up north. It's like a weird little thing going on again, you know, and a lot of moving around where I guess people think they're going to get treated better one place than somewhere else. But Washington uh, is probably one of the worst places for people to be, as far as like, if they don't have a strong will, black man or a black woman, they'll end up pregnant or they end up getting pregnant somebody that's not black. And that's just what it is, you know. People can be mad at me. People can say, "Oh, that's bullshit," but that's the truth. Because the Kowtow factor in this state at an all-time high. I know white guys who purposely try to talk to black chicks now. And the only reason for doing so is because they heard about swirlers and they heard about, you know, there's black chicks who intentionally only want to talk to them because they're white. So he figures, well, shit, I got some money, got a car, got a place. I stand more than a chance. And the same thing for a black man, you know, who's like, oh man, these Asian girls, or these Hispanic girls or these white girls. They all on me. They all talking about they want a little yellow baby with curly hair, blah, 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 blah. This is how these dudes think, you know. It's really disgusting. And then you see when the kowtowing comes to a crescendo, so to speak, right? Because they can no longer want to do it. They no longer want to bow down, man or woman. I mean, use a black woman in particular. There's a lot of black women who have grown mixed children. When I say grown mixed children, grown ones, right? And you'll see her with her new little baby is a black baby. And you'll be thinking, like, what black dude got her pregnant? And more than likely, she found a black dude who the chances of him already having mixed kids himself are far greater than none. But the next close factor to that is the old black man. You see what I'm saying? Who's in like, I won't say old, but he's just older. He's in like his early 50s. You know what I mean? Mid 50s. He's still in shape, or he still has his mind to him. He's willing to overlook what a lot of the younger guys won't overlook, you know, and she'll get a baby out of this guy. And I've seen that a bunch of times, you know. You see a lot of old men fathering babies with young ladies who are young enough to be their daughters out here. A lot, you know, and it's almost always, it'll make you sick, you know, because you'll see an all white guy with this young black girl with a little mixed baby. BGS, exactly. BGS style, exactly. That guy, you know, and they don't want to hear it, you know. Nobody wants to hear that. They want you to kowtow. They want you to fold and give up and give in. I want you to have black babies, beautiful, healthy, strong willed black babies that you raised. Can you dig it? That's what I want y'all to do. Fuck the rest of them, you know. You already have black babies, raise your black babies. That's it. Because these other dudes are talking crazy. You feel me? Anybody else who's talking about they want you to once again to fold up like a wet blanket. I can't dig that. I'm not with that. I'm never gonna be with that. You know, there's too many people who we deal with on a day-to-day basis who want you to do stuff that doesn't even make sense. I'm gonna say something to you like, look, if you're going to order something, order things that you can use or that can be traded later. I'm not going to tell you to invest in markets and things that are crumbling as we know it, that are becoming more volatile as we know it. Part of not kowtowing. When the prices of stuff goes up in the next couple months, you better not go crazy. I already told you what's going to happen. I don't think Trump is going to stop this trade war stuff fast enough to with China. I don't think they'll slow it down enough for the money to not affect everyone. I think it's really going to hit people way harder than they think. And you know, they say it's only going to be stuff like furniture or whatever that's really only affected, but we'll see. You know, keep your eyes on the ever-changing environment. You know what I mean? On what's happening, because they always want us to believe that we don't know what the hell is going on. That's the first thing they want us to think. You know, but we know what's up because we pay attention. We stay calm. See what I'm saying? We keep things simple. We try to maximize the effectiveness. We're doing our best at all times. You know what I'm saying? To bring good tidings. Can you dig it? So that way we either garner favor or gain mercy. That's it. We don't want nothing else. When you know the rules and regulations of where it is that you are at, be it a building or the land and where in which you reside, whatever it is, you're much better off. You do not hurt your chances or your ability for survival by telling yourself something like, you know what? I think it would be smarter for me to save my money every time I have a chance. And the only time I'm going to spend money is when the desire to do whatever is so powerful that to not seek this desire may bring greater degeneracy or some form of destruction later. Well, then I understand. But if a person can fend themselves off and can resist themselves, then I would say to do that. Because chances are, more than likely, you're in a situation or you're going to be in a situation where people are just waiting for you to fold. See what I'm saying? Like I always see this stuff. I see it all the time. You know, there's always somebody who's waiting for you to give in. You know, so they can so-called take your place. You know, it's normally at a job place. Every once in a while, though, you might have a billet within society that people will try to say. One second. Oh, that's right. But look, universal basic income and all the other stuff, even if they implemented something like that, right? And I'm not saying that it's kowtowing or it's folding. If they would have to force universal basic income on somebody. You see what I'm saying? Because what if the UBI comes with, I don't know, strings attached? You feel what I'm saying? And what if those strings attached means kowtow? Means it's time to fold like a wet blanket. You see what I mean? So I'm with you, bro. You know, these guys don't know what it is that they're talking about because they don't understand what they're talking about, bro. You know, once again, we had old boy come here talking about he was a heart surgeon and he was crazy, rich, and happy, and that he liked to watch the insanity. It's people like that that make absolutely no sense, you know, because once again, he's already folded to the system. He's already kowtowed. You're a heart surgeon, dog. Effectively, you're an assassin for hire. Because what if somebody comes in and says to this man, well, this guy right here, we're written it for his will for this much money. You know what I mean? He's this many years old. We get that money. Maybe we send you a check for this much money. So maybe the surgery goes wrong. See what I'm saying? People who are in those kind of positions, those fragile positions, are normally kowtow to keep the rank or the billet that they've accumulated. I didn't say it was right. I'm just saying what the situation is. So when people like that, it's okay. It's okay, bro. It's here's the thing. Um, this is my thing. Why would I take serious? Once again, this is part of kowtowing right here, right? Who we listen to, right? You know what I mean? Because I listen to what they say. But I listen to it objectively, as do yourself. But there's people who listen to it subjectively and they kowtow to the information. For example, these guys talk about distribution of drugs every once in a while, and there's a character on there where where he speaks on the man's character as if he was a mid-level distributor, almost high level. And it's hard for me to think that a man that was mid or high level distribution would ever capitulate to saying that on air. I just have a hard time believing that. However, if he was a paid informant or was some kind of government agent who was doing what he was doing, then it's more than easy to believe. They want you to hold hands and be friends with guys. Once again, they want you to kowtow guys and gals that before 2 or 3 years ago, they wanted nothing to do with black people. I'm not that guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go as far as to say that I'm delusional like a guy, Professor Black Truth. And then I called him delusional because the audacity to call all black people Africans is just that's so robust. That is so robust, and to even allow myself once again to kowtow to the thought of being an African, these are small things, but they're big because these are characters who deal with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and they get to affect their minds, and they get to also affect the minds of all the people that they're going to speak to. So this is why their characters are so important, because what they do affects far more than what I'll ever do. I'll never ever feel the gravity of knowing that thousands of black people are wrapped around my finger, and if I so called to telling them to after all of them have $10 put together, and put up, to put the $10 in this pot, and then we're gonna go and not feed the poor or whatever, but build a small community center in this city, and then we're gonna do that same thing again, and then build one in your city, and then one in the next man's city. Because these guys don't do that, and they have the power to, because they have these super chats where they collect, an unfettered amount of revenue. I have to say that I don't think they care about actually helping out black people as much as it is that they like to use black people as a talking point to gain money. Yeah, but man, they look down on people all the time, and as far as the numbers go, they're wishy-washy, because if they talk about the right things, they're gonna get a large viewing. Like for example, before this, I was watching. I tuned in for a second to this guy O'Shea Duke, just because I like to hear what some of the other people who be on the panel, have to say. And I'm listening to these dudes, and these guys are talking. And at some point, O'Shea does this all the time, and I just think it's kind of weird, because it's one thing if a person actually tells you what to do. It's another thing if a person suggests something that actually might be helpful. And it's like how he addresses people for giving him ideas, just to cuss people flat out, telling them, go make your own fucking channel, or nigga, I don't need no. It's like, bro, like, these are the same people that you're asking to break bread with you. You're asking these same people to break bread with you. And because you have people who will continuously and gregoriously, if I may, give to you, so much so that you don't think you need the support of this other black person because you don't think that they're on your level. Once again, that's his sickness. And now he's kowtowed to the system, the platform that has given him the ability to do that in the first place. See, these guys only complain about the revenue because they put videos out where they seek to get paid off of it. The same time that they've used to make a video is the same time that I've used to make videos. And I don't think that my time is any less or more valuable than theirs. It's just that I don't think that I have the right to ask people who I want to view my information and to view it earnestly for their money. And then I also, and if people can say, well, you know, there's white people who get paid and this, that, and the other, but this is also their system. This is their country. You know, they can have, so you can't get mad at a system that was built once again for them to thrive on. Do you get what I mean? Do they thrive in professional sports as actual sports players? You could try to argue that if you wanted to, but no, not really. You know, only certain sports do the so-called Anglo-American man have true prominence and dominance still. And the first and the major, which is hockey. Then I would throw a toss-up between golf and baseball. And as we know with basketball and American football, they're both obviously dominated by blacks. So, and even if a person wanted to throw in a major league soccer or, you know, football, that right there is a pretty diverse. Even though there's a lot of white people that play the sport, it's a very diverse sport throughout the world. So, once again, these guys don't feel like they need people though. They don't think they need anybody. You know, they have the ability to not reach out because they don't have to do that with these people. You know, we're not a dominant force anywhere. You know, black people are not a dominant force anywhere other than, you know, being entertainment. So because we don't dominate anything and we don't run anything, a person can't say to you, well, I deserve the same shillings that this man does, because you are not of the ilk nor the characters that they meant to get these things. And this is important. You know, many people get mad because they say that it's guys like me, you know, that make it hard for those guys to get paid. But I don't go around flagging guys' channels. You know what I mean? I personally don't get in their comment sections and tell them that I think they're beggars. I don't do that. You know, do some of these guys have, I guess, a half just cause that they might actually be willing to give to? Sure, I will acquiesce to that. I'll acquiesce to that. I'll reluctantly say yes to that. But even with that, do I think that they have some type of nefarious or underhanded intention also in their mind? Of course I do. Because these are the same people who, once again, will babble about white supremacy, will talk bad about black men and black women, you know, in whatever respect and regards, will act like they're not puffing up white people, but in all ways they are, you know, because they don't want to say what it is. So they'd rather kowtow and say, you know what, shave your face, go to college, follow every rule that there is to follow, right? And if you see something happening that's unjust, just turn a blind eye. Kowtow. Just kowtow. Just do what they want you to do. Everything should be all right. You know? And these are the kinds of people, once again, that I'm like, you can't trust these guys. You know? You can't trust somebody who people are giving them hundreds of dollars weekly through the internet. I don't care about what some white man is getting, because the hundreds that you get weekly, Once again, people are paying these guys written bills. Do they not mind that while they're working a fucking 9 to 5 to pay their own written bills? Right. This once again, it's because they've 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 tried to turn it to where you have to fold. Once again, you're a hater if you don't fold to the idea that free content is welfare content. How is that? How is that a welfare mind state that you want individuals to produce things that don't cost you anything? What did the money cost that person other than to open their mouth and start talking about things they probably talk about all the time? Right. This is what people don't even realize. These are things that interest them regardless. But people have the inability to even say, you know what, that makes a little sense. Because they're too busy caught up in the subject matter. They're too busy caught up in the words, the incendiary statements of people that they may have around them. And then they overlook these things. And then once again, they don't even realize before they know it, they're kowtowing. They're folding, and they don't even know that they folded. And that's dangerous. I can't tell you how dangerous that is. We're in a time where if you think that standing up for yourself is you telling other black people, you better stop arguing with these good white folk and you better just listen to what they say to do. If you think that's standing up for yourself, sure, by all means, you do that. To me, that's the kowtow. Once again, if you think telling brothers that they need to date outside or telling sisters they need to date outside if they want to find love and happiness, that right there is kowtowing. To me, in my book, you've kowtowed, you folded. If you are telling black people that you think standing up, hold on, is trying to give money to characters who've never proved ever in their lives that they can, let alone build something, sustain it, right? That's madness, and that's kowtowing at its finest. And people don't even want to hear that because they'd rather believe that a guy that they think is a hero, a woman that they think is a hero, people who are never even accosted by the system. I heard a brother in O'Shea's broadcast who says he lives in Florida, says he sells guns for a living, or something to that effect, and how he was telling brothers and sisters how to get their concealed license in Florida, and then all of a sudden he was being accosted by the law enforcement. Now he's dealing with the Supreme Court down there. He's saying he's wiping their ass up, but I know what he means. He has a good standing. His situation is better than his bad. But these groups are evil. Now what he was doing was standing up. What a lot of other people think what he was doing was cooning and somehow stupid. That's standing up when you tell your people how to do something the right way. He's not kowtowing because he's standing up to the people who are trying to affect him. That's what I'm talking about. But for the people who will have the cops kick their door in, take all their stuff, they say, you know what? I'll just let them have that stuff. I'll just get a lawyer, and then I'll just fight whatever charges that they try to bring up against me, and I'll just try to get this stuff dismissed, as opposed to being like, I'm not taking no charges. If they try to charge me with something, I'm going to seek to have these guys brought up on charges. I'm going all in. You know what I mean? Like, you can't fold. You can't fold. Because the moment that people see that you'll give in to something, that's when they attack all out. That's when they go all in on you. See, I'm going to tell you what YouTube did wrong a long time ago. When YouTube made it to where people were getting flagged for content that they would otherwise let people get paid off of, and now they have to produce it for free, and dudes were used to getting paid, and dudes were used to having some extra side change, and once again, paying their rent and bills off of YouTube. It's no surprise they had such a visceral, vitriol response to their white daddy cutting them off. Yet they want to talk about everybody else's white daddy. And what did they do? They folded. They capitulated. They changed all their talking points. They don't talk about anything they used to talk about anymore. They totally folded. Totally folded. While black women and black men still do wicked things to each other, they don't talk about some of that wicked stuff that they were talking about before because they're afraid. They have their freaking channel flag. But I thought it was about telling the truth and all this other stuff, you know? Man, that's exactly what happens. If you turn your back on a bear in the woods, right, he's going to attack you. I don't see why not. You just made yourself an easy meal. To give somebody your back is the ultimate sign of submissiveness. Of submissiveness. You can't, to lay down, face down on the ground is like you can't submit any more than that. You can't. You can't show any more sign of I grovel to you than that. And a lot of these guys don't realize that they've groveled to this system, to this internet system for a way to make money, you know. And that's what's sad to me, you know, is because it's like what happens when this system folds, you know. They've already kowtowed to it. So you see what I'm saying? Like I would always advise you to do something that's practical. Do something that makes sense. Work with your hands still. Have a skill or a hobby that you can get paid off of that people will pay you for. That's important. People don't know. People don't understand. You know, it's a grave mistake for people to not have tangible skills with their hands. It's a grave mistake. It's again, biblically speaking, most of the Israelites were not literate, but they had skills with their hands. They can embroider from embroidery to masonry. So there was a vast range of skills that take when I say they take no level of literacy, they take not anywhere close to the level of read. It takes nothing but the ability to do these things with your hands. So don't kowtow, y'all. Don't fold because you need you more than the world needs you. Your family needs you more than, you know what I'm saying, way more than the world does, you know. And in order for you to be there for your family, you have to be alive, and you can't be giving in to every little thing that people want you to fucking give into, you know. Just because it seems like a good idea doesn't mean it's a good idea, you know. I know black guys who don't talk to black women. You know what I mean? Like, they do anything but talk to black women. How is that? How do you sleep with yourself at night knowing that a person that looks like you, right, of the opposite sex, you want nothing to do with? And these are the people that we're having to once again, I'm not saying be in league with, but we're most definitely having to deal with them. And you have people who believe like this, and these same guys try to get other guys to think like this. You know, once again, I know guys who are like this in real life. So I don't need no internet, commentator talking nonsense about it, because I see it. I witness it. One of the biggest ways that I've seen people fold Again, I asked somebody to file a complaint and they did not. When they did not file the complaint, those that they did not file a complaint on, furthermore, went on the attack because they believed that by not doing anything, that nothing would happen. By doing nothing, many more things happen. It's like you have to have the mind as a grown man and a grown woman to know when something is going to affect you. I'm saying you just have to have that kind of sense. You just have to have that mind. You know, that's normally why people do give in because they don't know what's going to affect them, and then before they know it, you know, I give you a prime example. There's the there's a lot of brothers, you know, who today, some brother right now signed a fucking prison sentence deal for like 17 years, and he should probably only be doing like 4 or 5 months in the county. And because he kowtowed, you know, he was so afraid of, oh, we take you to trial, boy. You know how much time you're looking at, huh? You know what kind of crime this is? And they're sitting there snickering and laughing in their head. They're cracking up, but they got a serious ass face on, you know. And he signed some papers saying that he committed a crime that he didn't really commit to, you know, and then he's done, you know, and then he's done. And it's happening right now. I know a lot of people don't want to believe that, but it's happening, you know, it's happening right now. People don't realize, like, just because all these judges and cops are getting called out and aired out live or soon thereafter doesn't mean that there's still not people who are committing these heinous acts, you know. This is one of the few times I don't think we've had anybody show up, talk any kind of garbage. I'm not jinxing it because I'm about to, because here in a second I'm about to shut it down. But nobody showed up ever acted. You know, it's been a really good one. You know, I've stayed on, stayed on topic. I feel good about that. You know, but it's sad. You know, no, you're right, sister. I mean, it is. It's one of those things, you know, because I'm gonna give you guys an example. Let's say let's say I was a hot dog guy, right? And everything happened all the way it did. But let's say I didn't know anything about anything I know about. I was just me. I was just a black guy with a gun license. And one day I was just calling myself, asking a brother, was he all right? And then the shit went totally south. Let's say I didn't know anything, but I had all the same materials. There's a good chance that I might have incriminated myself by saying something that wasn't true to their cause, where now I'd have to go back and try to get body cam information. You know what I'm saying? And then that body cam information or that audio information, therefore now they might not have it. Oh, all of a sudden they can't find that tape, but that cop is still claiming that you said something that you didn't say. You follow what I mean? So it's like when they say that you have the right to remain silent, damn right you have the right to remain silent. You feel me? You get what I'm saying? But if you know that there's certain things that you need to speak up and expound on, you expound on those things and those things only. You know, and that's what you do. You know, and I thank the Most High, man, because man, you know, He allows for this man to be what it is. You know, I was literally just I was on the internet right before because I had this other title, this long title. It's called like something like wisdom, knowledge, no, love, fear, and respect, and wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And I was going to break down how they all weren't the same. And I'll probably do a live stream or something like that, you know, in the middle of this week after I get done with these two little. I'm gonna drop the one video, then I might do the live stream, then I'll drop the other video. I'll figure it out, but I got a few little projects I got coming. Um, um, it's just a blessing, because I was on the internet, I typed it up, Kowtow, and I just laughed, because I was like, you know, because I was spelling it, and I was like, why am I not spelling it right? And then I was like, oh, okay, really now. So you know how that is. But this has been a great time, my brothers, my sisters. I want y'all to get some good sleep tonight. I know the East Coast has many perils. I know life has many perils. I pray for everybody all the time. I really do hope and think and ask for the best circumstances for all my people. I always hope that things are copacetic, if nothing else. I pray that the Most High opens our eyes ever more. You know, you know. You guys stay up. You have a wonderful week. Once again, I look forward to this so much. You know what I mean? I look forward to doing this. I know it's only once a week. I know I could probably do more stuff or whatever, but I think it kind of makes it to where like is nobody feels any kind of pressure to have to see anything. You know what I mean? It's just you know, it's one day, few hours, a couple hours, whatever, and then we just sit down. And I feel like even if nobody's right here with me, because it would be nothing, I would gladly send y'all the link where y'all could get it in. You could, you don't have to have no camera on, and and prayers for everybody. I'm praying for everybody too. Once again, I salute you guys. Have a blessed week. Uh, do your best. Do your absolute best. Put your best foot forward. Always do things, once again, with the mind of good tiding. Stay calm. I can't stress that enough. Stay calm. You understand? Right on. And just stay thinking, because that's a big part of it. Stay forever in that thought process. It's a big deal, y'all. Once again, I salute you. It's been a wonderful address. You guys take it easy.